Welcome to Lanterns Live. I'm Ralph, and this is the first episode. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be opening up this little shiny plastic person, which it's no coincidence. Joining me live on this very first episode from Shiny Plastic People is Chris. Chris, how's it going? Chris already has his opened up.
It's going well. It's a very exciting day on the internet. I get to be here for the premiere of Lanterns Live.
It's crazy. So as of like Saturday, this did not exist. This was not a thing. This was not a show I planned on doing. I did not want to do another podcast. I do not have time to do another podcast. But I'm like, if I tone down one of my other ones, I can do a lantern show during my wife's ukulele class when I have the house to myself and I'm not cutting into our time together. And so I'm like, fuck it. I'm doing a lantern show. Mostly how these things go, and this happened with my other show, Invincipod, is you think of a name and you go and you check Twitter, Facebook, you check the domain, and you check Instagram, and Lanterns Live wasn't taken anywhere except for Twitter, which is fine. I don't want to be over there, but it was available. So for $12, I got lanternslive.com. And then Saturday morning, I just started building stuff. So what you're seeing is a very sort of rough version of everything. So the logo, although it has a toy, and I'm talking about a toy now, is not necessarily a toy channel. It's a Green Lantern channel. So if there's anything on the radar, Green Lantern wise, I'm going to talk about it. In fact, next week, I already have a show planned, unless something happens with the movie I'm working on, to talk about Jeremy Adams' series, current run on Green Lantern with Vactor from the Vactorverse. And so it's not a toy channel. And the reason I bring that up, because we talked about, you asked me if I was unboxing this on air.
Yeah.
And I said, yes. And I said, it's only going to take a couple seconds, because usually what I do is I just give this a nice little squeeze and just tear off the thing. And you said, people aren't going to like that. And I have to remind everyone, I'm not really a toy collector. I have the Kyle Rayner statue there that my wife got me. It's a quarter scale statue. It's as big as my torso. You can't tell, it's a little far back, but maybe I'll talk about that one week. But at one point, I'm going to be opening this in a couple minutes, but there's something I want to talk about first. First and foremost, I was on your channel a few months back talking about the other McFarlane Superpowers toys.
Yes.
Okay, so here's my deal with the Superpowers. I don't know if I brought it up on that show, but I collected Green Lantern Funko Pops because it was an easy thing to collect. There weren't a lot of them, and I would get all of them no matter the quality. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. It got to the point where I'm like, they're not making any like Green Lanterns that I care about. The John Stewart one was a repaint a blank head with a repaint but hero body that was from like Funko Wave 1 back when we first started. It was bad. The John Stewart Walgreens exclusive Funko was bad. Then they released the here, what was it, the DC League of Legends, League of Heroes. It was like a subscription box, and they came with one that came with a Kilowog, Guy Gardner, and Chip, and they're all new sculpts, and it was awesome.
Yeah. I actually did the first year of that subscription box.
Yeah. So then, my favorite Green Lantern is Kyle Rayner. It's just a character I gravitated towards. And they were finally going to release one. And in order to get it, you have to buy like NFTs. And then if you got the gold NFT, it gave you a chance to go online and possibly get a real life Kyle Rayner. And I was like, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
That's awful.
So,
I will admit, I do have a Kyle Rayner Funko from Target that's cell shaded.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't do a lot of pops. But I like having different texture. in my collection.
I wanted to, so I got rid of my collection. I practically gave it to the Emerald Enthusiast. Check his site. It's great. But I still wanted to collect something. And around the time they started doing this reissue or this sort of new version of DC Superpowers. And I'm like, this is perfect because Green Lantern for the last since 2011 hasn't been like DC's priority at all. After the movie came out, Green Lantern has been swept under the rug. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I'll get the DC Superpowers. They're going to have a Green Lantern in there. And it's not going to be often. It's not going to be often. So it's like, and they're $10. So I'm like, I'm going to collect those. But I got to hand it to Todd. He's doing pretty good about releasing Green Lanterns. Now, this was the first one that came out, just a refresher, was the John Stewart. Comes with the power battery. Love it. It's a great figure. It's pretty basic. It feels like this was like what, wave 4 or something, or wave 2. It was a pretty early wave.
It was like wave 1.2. It came out between wave 1 and 2 proper, so it was kind of an oddball figure.
So great for like a wave 1.5. Then they came out with the Hal Jordan, which pretty much uses the classic mold from the original.
Very similar,
yeah, which I'm not too fond of. This one doesn't charge my battery. I'm telling you that right now. It doesn't feel like it's part of the same line. So, you know, maybe they can do a new Hal, an updated Hal. That would be great. I understand why they did it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I kind of like, you can still get an original Hal from like what, 1985 or whatever. You can get an original Hal still for fairly decent price, like a decent price. Then came this dude. This dude is rad. Now, this Sinestro is freaking dope. He's slender. He's a completely different mold than the other two. He's slightly taller, which he should be. And his power battery, they could have just done a yellow one, like in the exact same mold.
Right. But it is
actually
unique.
They did do the unique handle with the Yellow Lantern logo on top. So this dude is rad. And as soon as this guy came out, I'm like, Todd, I need a repaint. I need the Sinestro Corps Sinestro, which is what we got. And I'll be getting into that in a little bit because I already have thoughts. But then this dude, man, this dude's just the best.
Kilowog is incredible.
This is an incredible toy. I guess looking at it now, my only issue with it is it didn't come with a power battery, but I mean, this is for the same price, you get a big old chunky figure. But it kind of would have been nice if they left his left hand open so that maybe you can put one of the other ones. Are really small. I don't think it would fit, but this dude's awesome. This is a terrific design, which leads us to the next one, which is this guy. I've looked at it and it does do the Funko thing that made me mad when it came to like making new figures. It is a repaint. So things like the belt, which is a molded plastic piece, right? Instead of it being open in the middle, I can bring down another Sinestro, but you guys know what Sinestro's belt looks like. It doesn't, it's like this. It doesn't close all the way. They just painted it a little black there. And then for the armband, it's not a new sculpt. They just painted it, the armband, yellow. It's fine. I'm fine with it. If you're going to do a repaint, I would much rather have this be the classic suit coming out first and basing this on that instead of the other way around. Because I feel like this guy would have been in the Superpowers lineup back in the 80s.
Right. And there's a weird like nostalgia-ness to even using the mold again and just repainting it because that's what they would have done, 40 years ago.
I'm gonna pop this sucker open. And this isn't really an unboxing. I don't know why. I just decided to leave it in the thing. Just because. I don't know if this is terribly interesting. I'm just gonna do it. How about this?
Just do it.
I'm just gonna do it. I don't. Oh, it actually came off real nice. Yeah, I don't keep the card backs as cool as they are. As cool as they are, I don't keep the card backs. Got this for $9.99 at GameStop. I think they actually gave it to me for like $9.97 or something. So a really good deal. I had pre-ordered this, which by the way, I may still have the pre-order. The place I pre-ordered it from did not fulfill the order. They said it was on back order. I didn't trust it. So I drove out like 30 miles to Rancho Cucamonga from Anaheim, and got this guy for $9. Reached out to the people who I did the pre-order with to be like, hey, could you cancel this? Because, I don't need to spend $20 on one. Haven't heard back from them. I don't know if I should mention the toy company.
I will say they are partnered with certain toy tubers out there, so they can't just be like completely nothing. I don't know what's going on, because I also have an order with them for Sinestro.
Mad Hatter. I know Mad Hatter is one of the
and
I mean,
another, but
here's the deal. What's the deal with this figure? Would this be considered a chase figure?
I'm kind of confused on it, because I thought, because it's part of their gold line, and I thought like you could only get that in the wave pack, but they're showing up at GameStops. Some of them are showing up at Walmart, so I have no idea.
The GameStop had 2. I had called because I'm like, hey, listen, it's going to take me like 45 minutes to get there. It's Saturday, and I said, I don't want to drive all that way for it to be gone. He's like, yeah, I'll hold it for you. Perfect. I said, I promise you I'll be there as soon as I can. And me and my wife went, and it took about, like 40, 45 minutes. And he had it back there, and I was like, I see it. Great. I can just do some shopping, peruse the shop. And they had another one on the shelf. So I was like, okay, that GameStop, and I'll say the GameStop in Rancho Cucamonga is very well stocked with Superpowers. All the ones around me are not. Like they'll have like one Blue Beetle or one, like I saw a Gold Flash.
Okay.
Which maybe I should have got. I don't know. I don't really collect. I don't care about the secondary market and stuff. But I did want this guy. So there he is in all his glory. What do you think of this figure?
To be perfectly honest, my favorite superpower thus far.
Really? That's great.
Go ahead.
He's awesome. As far as like repaints go, like pretty good job. It's pretty good, and it's also like under $10. But just like, okay, as a Green Lantern fan, the attention to detail. First of all, let me just say, this paint job with the shiny gold, I don't know if it's really coming off on the screen, but it's definitely
it's kind of got a fleck to it. Yeah. This superpower is actually better than the multiverse version of Sinestro.
Yeah, which came out recently. Now, here's the thing. Again, I'm not a super toy collector. I put all my cards or all my chips in on DC Superpowers because I figured maybe I'd get one a year. I wouldn't like go down this rabbit hole where I get sucked into this vortex of toy buying. And they're
going to have you for at least 4 this year.
Yeah. You want to talk about that? Let me see if I can. Let me get this up because I don't know. I want to know. I have a question about this one because this. Hold on. This is a very blurry picture that came out this week of DC Superpowers Guy Gardner.
Yes.
Now, is this a real thing? Is this a real?
It is a real thing. They actually initially showed him off at WonderCon. And they had him there, I think, in hand.
Okay.
So it is real. It is going to be in the next wave.
So that's just me being a cynical Green Lantern fan, being like, they would never make they would never get to the point where there's Guy Gardner. but here we are.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looks good. I only have one small, tiny issue with it. He does not come with the accessory of the power battery. And I mean, I think the consensus is people say, oh, it's, you know, it's a new mold. You're getting a new guy. So they're probably putting the money into that.
Right. I think the only parts they can actually reuse from any other superpower is maybe the thighs on this figure.
This is a complete new figure. Like, it's a complete mold, right?
Right.
There aren't other DC superpower guys with like these raised boots and this taller, slender body. Yet they made an actual like non-existing lantern power battery, Sinestro yellow power battery. You think they can just easily, like, there's nothing really unique about Guy Gardner's power battery. He should have the same one as John Stewart, which is something they've already made.
Right.
With one tiny exception, if you're a real nerd and you put the University of Michigan sticker on his power battery, like he does in the comics. But listen, this is my plan, is I'm going to go to Walmart where they have an infinite amount of John Stewarts. And
you know
for
what?
Like $2.
I bet you dollars to donuts they will reuse this buck, the Sinestro buck, for maybe Larfleeze and Saint Walker.
Oh. Because, okay, a couple things here. You got me excited because I haven't thought about this. Because I'm like, wow, Guy Gardner, they've done it. They've got everything I've ever wanted. Now you're coming in and getting me excited about the prospect of using the taller body. With Larfleeze also has these gauntlets.
Right.
That Sinestro does. So you can use the same arms. These little cuffed boots Larfleeze has bare legs, I think. But I mean, it's so funny. It's so funny that people are talking about, oh, his is so unique. Whereas like Sinestro has his ring on the left hand.
Right.
Which is how Sinestro does it.
Evil.
Yeah, he's the opposite of Green Lantern. So they would have to fix that for both those other characters. But what I've been thinking since day one, Atrocitus.
Absolutely Atrocitus on that.
100% Atrocitus. And Todd has shown us time and time again that he wants to make Atrocitus figures.
Yeah, because he's kind of made two in the multiverse line. Because you have Atrocitus proper, and then you have Bat-Trocitus.
Yeah.
I would also love a mega figure of Brother Worth.
Yes. I have a blue Scion XB, which I've named Worth, and I have the HeroClix Brother Worth. If you have, I don't collect HeroClix, but I have it glued to the top of my rearview mirror. He's doing the classic pose.
Of course.
And he's got like a splash of blue coming up around him. You got to check out the HeroClix Worth because it's awesome. Would they do a Build-A-Figure for Superpowers? Probably not.
I don't think so. Yeah, they haven't yet, but they've also not shied away from just doing those big figures like Kilowog or Darkseid. So
yeah, that Kilowog is amazing. Okay. So I want to talk about this guy a little bit more, but before we do, I realized that people showed up.
Yeah.
They showed up to the first stream. Lucha Johnny's here. He's going to be showing up on my live action Star Wars show. My sister Sarah Allison's here. Geek Dad Life is here. Jeremy Kelly, Lucha Johnny, and Vector's here. And yeah. Jay mentions that McFarlane's starting to hit his stride here for sure. I'm not like, I love DC, make mine DC. I'm not. I grew up reading DC comics. I grew up reading Green Lantern, and so like I have a fondness for it, but I never really. when it comes to collecting, it's Green Lantern all the way. I have 3 of these mini mates. I have a John Stewart, I have a Guy Gardner, and I have a Kilowog. Like my whole shelf is just full of like Green Lantern stuff. I have the 2 PVC sets they released in the 90s. I have all my Green Lantern rings, or all my core rings, from white to black. So it's nice to see Green Lantern kind of making a resurgence. And I really, really look forward to more of these superpowers, because I think I jumped on the right wagon. I think Todd, I don't have a ton of room. I don't have a ton of space.
Sure.
And I don't like big giant action figures. I grew up in the 80s, so I'm a fan of like G.I. Joe and Star Wars. And so this is the perfect size for me. I can get a lot of them on my shelf, and they aren't coming out like, it's not like Motu. I don't know how those guys collect Motu. It seems like it's toy anxiety like every single week.
It really is.
It really is, and I can't do that, especially when it comes to Green Lantern, because like I've seen really cool, like they released a Kyle Rayner figure recently. Todd did, in the classic outfit, which is my favorite outfit. And I've seen it at the store, and I'm like, it's my favorite Green Lantern. He's right here. I can grab it for, I don't know, $17 or whatever it is. And I'm just like, no, don't do it, because you're going to get others. Because they did a repainted out one, I think, in a Blue Lantern suit, and maybe not a White Lantern.
They haven't done a White Lantern yet. We've gotten him in the Corps uniform. Yeah. We've gotten him in the Blue Lantern, which was a store exclusive. And then the classic, which also got a repaint in a 2-pack with Kilowog.
All right. So see, I would need all those. But this is perfect, because when Sinestro was released, the blue one, I was like, okay, if they do a repaint, I'm 100% buying that repaint. The only other repaint I could see of Sinestro was maybe a White Lantern. I could see them.
They could also do a Green Lantern Sinestro,
which I would love. I love Green Lantern Sinestro would be wonderful. I don't need a million Sinestros, but since this is the only Green Lantern villain we have, I'll take 3.
Sure.
4 Sinestros until we get that Atrocitus. Who do you think, after Guy Gardner, who do you think's next?
Of the Green Lanterns, it has to be Kyle. It has to be.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah.
Todd really does seem to have a liking. I watched one of Todd's videos where he was talking about some Green Lantern toy, and Todd seemed really well versed in Green Lantern lore, which is more than I can say. Because another thing, the reason I don't like Funko is they used to do unboxings on their channel, and poor Yoko and like Sully, I think at the time, they were tasked with doing the live unboxing of the Green Lantern box, and they looked like deer in headlights because they didn't know the Green Lantern mythology at all.
Right, they're just unboxing a product.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh man, these guys are Funko. There's no one at Funko they could have grabbed that like had any sort of knowledge of Green Lantern. Like they couldn't do it. And so I felt bad, but at the same time, it started to make sense why they weren't making Green Lantern figures, because nobody cared about it over there. Todd, I don't know. Toy tubers have very, very strong opinions about Todd, and I get it. But he does. I think he genuinely loves Green Lantern. I think he likes Kyle a lot. Kyle was around like during his time period,
Well, and Kyle's an artist, right?
Yeah. It's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons why I gravitate towards Kyle's, because like I'm never gonna be a test pilot or a womanizer like Hal. I'm never gonna be an architect or like in the Marines like John. I'm never gonna be an asshole like Guy. But Kyle came in when I was in high school, Kyle's first appearance was while I was in high school, and in high school, black hair, liked to draw cartoons and stuff at school. And then I hear there's a new Green Lantern. I'm already a fan of Green Lantern since the days of Super Friends. And I picked up and started reading about Kyle, this guy who with black hair who likes to draw. And he's just a guy. He's not anything special. And I found that endearing, and I just gravitated towards that character. Do you have a favorite Lantern?
It is Kyle, and it's Kyle because Kyle hit. I'm a little bit younger than you, so I was in elementary at the time. And 90s was the time of change.
Yeah.
You know, Superman died, Batman got his back broken, Hal Jordan lost his mind.
Todd McFarlane Spawn.
Yep.
Like that's right in that time frame when he was like deep into comics.
And yeah, Kyle was cool, TM, you know.
Yeah. It was, yes. Because he did start off with the classic Green Lantern uniform, and then by the end of issue 51, he holds up his ring. He's like, I can make my outfit whatever I want. I don't have to do what those old comics did. This isn't your father's Green Lantern. And then he does the cool outfit, which is still one of my favorites. I love it. The white chest with the black stripe going down.
Right.
One of these days I'm gonna have to show off. My brother-in-law got me a CGC graded Green Lantern 51. I think it's a 9.6. It was one that I had that I owned, and I gave it to him, and he like made sure everything was, you know, nice and crisp and good to send off. He sent it off to CGC, got it back, gave it to me. And I just absolutely, that Daryl Banks cover of Kyle, and it's not his first appearance, it's his second appearance, but it's the first time you see that costume. I was just like, it's still one of my favorite images in all of Green Lantern, is that first Kyle Rayner where he's flying at the screen.
Well, and I'll tell you, and I'm gonna save the story for Allison Troy for one of her like my favorite toy series. But the toy that made me go from guy who hangs out in the toy aisle and buys stuff to what I would call an actual toy collector was a Kyle Rayner action figure.
Oh, amazing. Which one was it?
It was the DC Direct Justice League Kyle Rayner. So it was.
Was it the JLA where he's like crazy?
Well, no, it's semi-articulated. It's like a 6-inch figure, and it's the only figure I think they've ever made of him in the Jim Lee costume he had.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I got one from like KB Toy Stores. It came with a little green stand that said JLA, and it was like 5 points of articulation, and his arm was like back like this, and his other arm was like crazy.
So I had that one as a kid. I had the first release from Total Justice where he had like snap-on, like translucent green armor. And they also had a Parallax in that line.
Yeah. That's crazy. Was that a Build-A-Figure?
No, it was just it was released
like
right
a Hal Jordan Parallax?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was before Parallax was a giant thing.
Entity.
Yeah. That came later.
I think about Jeff Johns a lot and his Rebirth run, and just like what he did to kind of twist the lore to make it work, and creating Parallax as the entity inside the battery and stuff. I was like, oh, that makes sense. I could read a classic Silver Age Green Lantern and they'll talk about the impurity in the battery, and I'm like, I know what that is thanks to Jeff Johns. He
That was a good retcon. A couple of minutes back, Lucha Johnny asked, and I want to cover this because it's Todd. What are the chances we get a Jessica Cruz? Baby, don't hold your breath.
So I'm not familiar with Todd that much. Does he not do a lot of women figures?
He does not. And he often gets misquoted from an interview where he said he wouldn't do like a wave of women because women don't sell.
Right.
Which is an unfortunate reality, but it's a mixed bag. Do they not sell because nobody makes them? So
it's right.
And there's only one woman so far in Superpowers, and it's Wonder Woman.
Do you think he can repaint or reuse any of the Wonder Woman parts?
I bet he could reuse some of the parts.
Would you do the head? The hair's
actually. Well, she's got that crown, unfortunately.
Right.
What he needs to do, and I hate when they do this, but just do like the world's most basic female buck and just repaint it 100 times, and at least that would be something.
Yeah, it seems like this is where Todd his shortcomings. I would love to see a Jessica Cruz. I really like Jessica Cruz. I'm lukewarm on Simon Baz. You know what I do like, and I don't know if he'd do this before Jessica Cruz, but Sojourner from Joe from Far Sector, which is a book I really enjoyed. The design's really interesting. I don't know if that would translate well into superpowers, but Jessica, I feel like, would be after Kyle. I think you do Jessica before Simon.
Yeah, Simon, I don't have any like material really to connect to Simon, I feel like.
Yeah.
Where Jessica, I know best from Justice League versus the Fatal Five,
which is great.
So good.
It's a really good. If anybody hasn't seen that, it is essentially like a Justice League Unlimited movie. Like they use like some of the same voice actors from the like
they did, and a lot of the same models.
And it's basically Jessica Cruz is like the main character. It really centers around her and her like sort of PTSD and
you also had Starboy and his mental illness. It's very much about mental illness in a wonderful way.
Yeah. If you get a chance, it's probably on Max. Check it out. 100%. Yes, I agree with Johnny. DC animated movies are top notch. 100% agree, with the exception of one, which was Beware My Power, which I thought was hot garbage. I tend to stay positive on my shows, but listen, I don't know if you saw that one.
I did.
Green Lantern, Beware My, like I was so appreciative that they were doing a John story. I thought it was great. I like that they brought in Hawk Girl, because they have a relationship in those old in the old Justice League show. But holy crap, they did Hal dirty. I feel like they did John dirty. I feel like they did Kyle dirty too, because they
gave him Kyle's story.
Yeah. Which isn't John. It was so weird. It's almost as if I don't get it.
There's kind of a forgotten generation of heroes, I think, sometimes in DC, and Kyle is one of those guys from time to time. I mean, for me, the other big one as a Robin fan is Tim Drake. Tim Drake's stories and characteristics are often given to everybody.
Yeah.
So, if Robin pops up now, no matter if it's Dick or, Damian, they're all computer hackers now.
Yeah. Yeah. Johnny saw it recently. He said it was kind of meh in his opinion. I would go a step further and say it was just bad.
Also, I just really disliked John's uniform in that movie.
It wasn't good. There's a reason. This is very specifically John's uniform. And then they had the spike coming, this green part coming way down, almost like the Sinestro figure. It almost looked like a Sinestro costume with the 1 point coming down.
Right.
It wasn't good. I liked the art style. But other than that, it was just kind of like, it came at the right time, I think, around the time James Gunn started taking over DC Studios, and it could just be forgotten. Right. It could just be forgotten. I kind of want to, since this is the first episode, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Lantern show?
I am excited. I don't know what the direction's going to be right now because of everything being retooled.
Right.
But I'm excited just to see what they do.
Yeah. For me, Damon Lindelof, who's, part of the team, Tom King also. And then the guy who did Ozark, I believe. I forget his name. It's a good team. like Damon Lindelof, obviously I'm a fan about Lost. I'm producing a documentary about that show. I was in Damon Lindelof's office the day before the rumor came out that he was doing Green Lantern, or he's doing Lanterns, which I was kicking myself because I could have looked at his whiteboard and decided not to be a creep and didn't need to stick my nose into other people's business. And I would have 100% known that he was working on Green
You know what? You
Lantern.
did the professional thing. I mean, temptation's high, but
I know. But I mean, I walked in with a bag with 3 Green Lantern patches on it. I have the Kyle Rayner emblem tattooed on my arm. I'm like, and I'm in the office of the guy who is currently working on the first Green Lantern media since, well, I'm not going to count the John Stewart Beware My Power, but since 2011. And so I'm just like, I the next day when I heard that rumor, I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like, really? I was in his office.
Has it really been that long since the Green Lantern animated series?
Green Lantern animated series also started in 2011 and then got shit canned 2012.
Wow.
So it's been 12 years at least, which, by the way, anybody on here who's watching this who hasn't seen Green Lantern the animated series, it is wonderful. It's probably the best Green Lantern media outside of the comics. I think hands down. I do like First Flight. Emerald Knights has some good stuff in it, but Green Lantern the animated series, if you have a Max account, go give it a shot. If you're a fan of like Star Trek, I think I've told this to Lucha Johnny before. If you like Star Trek, it feels a lot like that. It's such a good show. It's a procedural with elements of serialized storytelling.
Well, and I remember when they announced it and they said the villains were going to be the Red Lanterns. I was like, how does that even make sense? But it worked. It worked so well.
It works so well. Back at Comic-Con 2010, I was on the press line for Green Lantern the animated series. Friends at Media Junkyard said, do you want to do this thing? I talked to Bruce Timm. I talked to Giancarlo Volpe about the show before it came out. I was very sort of apprehensive about it. I was like, I don't know if the Bruce Timm style works in CG, in the 3D model. I didn't think the animation looked terribly good. But once you start watching the series, all that takes a back seat because the storytelling is so good. It's so good.
If people don't know, there is an epilogue to this series in the form of, I think, 2 episodes of the Young Justice series.
Right. Where we get more with the character Razor, who, by the way, I'm just going to, we're going to wrap it up pretty soon. But next week I am talking about the new Green Lantern series that's written by Jeremy Adams. And if you're not familiar with the name Jeremy Adams, he wrote 2 Green Lantern the animated series episodes. One was Blue Hope, which is a fucking terrific episode, and he did Scarred. So another really good episode of Green Lantern the animated series. So he's now working on the comic. We're on issue 12. We're going to talk about all 12 issues next week. I'm going to talk about it with Justin Vactor, or I'm sorry, just Vactor. Sorry, Vactor. I don't think people know that's maybe your name. I don't know. I can bleep that out after the fact.
Yeah, I'll put that in post.
But what's great about this new Green Lantern series is Jeremy Adams brought Razor, who is created for the series, into the book, which is just like, for me, is mind-blowing. It's like that is for Green Lantern the animated series fans. That's Jeremy Adams being like, hey, listen, we had a thing over here that was amazing that not a lot of people knew about, and by bringing Razor in to that, and for the Young Justice guys bringing Razor and Kilowog into that, using the voices from the series, it's just like it's so amazing. Between Jeremy Adams' books, between this Lantern show coming out, and then these Todd toys, like I really feel like a turning point's coming soon, and I'm so excited that I created this channel. So I don't know what much more I have to say about the toy other than I mean, I guess I should call it a figure. I don't want to piss anybody off, but it is a toy. I mean, it's 5 points of articulation. Amazing. It's amazing. I use the term toy with so much love.
Hey, now,
because this little guy,
7 points of articulation.
7? Oh, yeah. The knees bend.
The knees, yeah.
If I'm going to do a quick review on this, the knees have a nice clicking there, so you can lock them into place. So they click. Didn't have to do that. It could have just been a regular loose joint. Yeah, that's why you're here, to correct me on the toy stuff. But I love it. I don't know if it's my favorite. It's up there. It's like probably, I like the classic Sinestro, but Kilowog's number one.
He's so good. I don't know. This just hits like the perfect balance of nostalgia and new for me.
Yeah.
It's just like, it opens a world that we are going to go beyond the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things I agree with you, I think Kyle would be after Guy Gardner, which when I get him, I'm going to pop him open on the show. I believe after Guy Gardner, it will be Kyle. And then after Kyle, I mean, let's do it. We got to talk Atrocitus. I think Atrocitus has to be next.
Atrocitus is a good one.
You're not going to create this big old guy without bringing in Atrocitus.
Hear me out. I don't know if they'll do it. This is just me like trying to will it into existence. A multi-pack of Guardians.
I was just grabbing them. Guardians. Yeah, you would do a Ganthet and Appa.
If you could do a 3-pack with Sade.
Sade. It's a girl though. Maybe
if she's
Todd
the
could
third.
The thing with Sade is Todd would look at it and say, okay, well, the ponytail's in the back, so maybe people won't know it's a girl toy.
Let's be honest, Ganthet rocked a pony in the 90s, so.
Yeah. And if you do a Kyle, I mean, maybe the way they did the Peacemaker 3-pack, Kyle with Ganthet and Sade.
That'd be cool.
Something. But right now, I trust Todd to make that Kyle. I really think he can do it because you can take that and you could do repaints again. I'm fine with. I would love a White Lantern Kyle. Funko did it. They reused the Nightwing head and fucking just painted the old body white, and it was like the worst Funko Pop was the White Lantern Kyle. Mm-hmm. It was such a bastardized piece. I hated it. But Todd with his repaint on this, I think did a really good job. Yeah. The only detail I think that's different is there isn't a split in the front of the boots. Don't care. Because who knew that there would be a Sinestro Superpowers figure? Not me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought I would just be stuck with the Justice League Unlimited figure.
Yeah. So. Love the yellow costume. I have I love this guy. I love him. He's so dusty and old. I got to dust him. You know what? One of these days, because I'm going a little bit longer than I said I would, and you have another show to get to. One of these days, I got to talk about this boy. You ever see one of these?
Can't say that I have.
Yeah. They gave these out to like celebrities before the movie came out. This lights up green. I think I need to replace the batteries. Still getting a little bit of green in there. I don't know if you can see that.
I think just a little bit.
They handed out these briefcases from Ferris Aircraft to people like Kevin Smith, Seth Green, stuff like that to promote the Green Lantern movie. My friend Jorge was at Comic-Con, went to a Warner Brothers event that year and got one and gave it to me. I don't even know how to just like how you would find it. Like as far as like a secondary market, it's just a promotional Green Lantern
right
to influencers of the time. So one of these days I'll have to go over it and review it. But for now, we've been talking about Sinestro. Chris, plug away everything you want to talk about as far as shiny plastic people go.
I'm trying to be doing something new every weekend. I'm not doing great at it, but still visit me at SPP Toys on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, and YouTube, of course. And about 30 minutes from now, I'm going to be on the Holdo maneuver talking Star Wars like you did this morning.
Yeah. That acolyte, huh? Something else.
Love it.
Real quick. There's something about the acolyte that reminds me of Green Lantern as far as the Jedi Council kind of being really wishy-washy about the rules, and they remind me of these little guys.
Right.
maybe not giving their police all the information they need to know to get through missions, maybe holding things back. It feels very Green Lantern to me, and I've been enjoying it a lot. It feels like a Jeff Johns run of Star Wars.
They're keeping stuff out of the book of Oa for sure.
100%. Thank you for joining me. If you I don't know, if you like this show but don't have time to sit down and watch, I'm gonna make it a podcast. I'm gonna put all the audio up on Apple Podcast and Spotify or wherever I can get it to go. That's where it'll be. If I'm missing your favorite podcast feed, reach out to me at lanternslive@gmail.com, and I can make sure that I get it on your favorite podcast player. I'm going to be back next week, pending my movie schedule. I'm working on a movie, like I said. So if I'm not doing anything, I will be here Wednesday, same Lantern time, same Lantern channel with Vactor from the Vactorverse. And then that's all I have to say is thank you everybody who came along and joined me on this very, very first episode. Thank you, Chris, for joining me. You're putting a lot of faith in a show that doesn't exist, and I'm glad you're here. You're welcome back anytime. Even if there's a toy that I don't get that's not superpowers, and if you want to talk to it, I'll come on your show. You could come on my show. We can do whatever, as long as we're talking about lanterns. So perfect. Until next time, and I've been thinking about this. Beware my power, Green Lantern Live.